It's funny where life takes you sometimes.
Action!
So a few weeks ago, I was in the United States where I drove one of the craziest cars that I've driven so far in Jersey Motorsports Park, and I would like to talk about it. So my experience in driving in real life is not as much as I would like to be. I mostly sim race, I've had experience in that, but generally I've had some chances of driving and racing with some race cars. Now, most recently, I was able to drive a BMW M3 E36 race car. So I'm not really a numbers guy, and mostly I just care about how I feel while driving. But for anybody interested, here are the things. What I want to say is how it felt to drive. That thing was pretty scary to drive. I gotta say, it was mostly because of the combination of how things were. First of all, the track itself was pretty fast. Like, it had a lot of really quick corners that you would carry a lot of speed through them, and that in and of itself can be scary. And it had a lot of segments where you would go uphill and downhill. And can I just say, the elevation changes of that track were incredible. Like, there was a point where you could feel as soon as you started going uphill, like the moment you would go uphill, I could feel the compression pushing me down, pushing the car down. The best way I can describe it is like going inside an elevator and you just press the button to take you to the highest floor, and the elevator itself is going pretty fast up those floors. That's how it felt initially. As soon as I was in the peak of the hill, then it was the opposite. It felt like the car felt really light. I felt like I was in the air for a little bit, like there was this small jump. The back of my head was telling me that, hey, maybe just lift a little bit on top of the hill. No, there was no need, there was no point. There was enough grip to hold the car and still be stable while going flat out. Whew. For me, it wasn't so much that I was scared of hurting myself. I was mostly scared of crashing the car. I don't have the budget to repair the damages if such thing occurred. So I was always keeping that in the back of my mind as I was approaching things with the car. The track was also a bit technical. It had like the final sector, which personally I really enjoyed those corners. I found them to be the most fun to drive because they just required a bit more technical driving, and I'm kind of experienced through that from the sim racing that I've done. Yeah, with that said, this track and this car were really exciting and really scary at the same time. Do you know what weight transfer is in a car? Basically, if you step on the brakes, even in your normal car, you should be able to feel your body in the car kind of moving towards the front. And the same thing happens when you accelerate, but opposite. Well, the opposite thing happens when you accelerate. So basically, you can feel your body being pushed back. So what does that mean? It means that when you brake, more weight is heading towards the front of the car, which means there's more grip at the front tires, which means there's more traction in the front so you can turn better, but also there's less grip at the rears. So it's easier to slide the car around when you brake compared to when you accelerate. Unless you overdo it and it's a rear-wheel drive car, but that's a whole other thing. So what was happening was, this car had, from what I felt, a really soft suspension, which meant that there was a lot of weight transfer in the front of the car when I was braking. And I could also feel like I could brake harder and the wheels would not lock. But when I did try to brake hard, there was so much weight at the front that it didn't leave any grip at the rear tires. So basically, so much weight was moving in the front and the rears were just almost lifted off the ground. The rear end would always kick out. A lot, especially the first time. The first time it kicked out too much because I was not expecting it at all. I don't have the video showing that, but luckily another car did the same spin at the exact same place as me. So here's that. So that was always in the back of my mind as I was braking. I wasn't even turning in most cases. It was just the brakes themselves that would cause a lot of weight transfer in the front. Now, downshifting while braking and, you know, revving the engine high when you did that just made it even scarier. So there was a point where I was starting to pick up the pace of the car, and as I was approaching corners with higher speed, sometimes in a corner that I would brake hard, I would need to downshift to keep the RPMs high when I was exiting the corner. But as soon as I kind of felt that I could approach the corner with more speed, I braked less, which meant that I didn't have to downshift. But because muscle memory and me being stupid, I downshifted without braking that hard, and I almost lost it again. Now, staying on the subject of brakes, the brake pedal itself was really close to the gas pedal. This was mostly because, you know, the owner of the car wanted to have a really close gas pedal so you could brake and apply a bit of gas at the same time to downshift and do a heel toe basically. But for my first time around, I was braking and also stepping on the gas a little bit at the same time, so I wasn't decelerating properly, especially in the first few times. Of course I got used to it, but it was just adding things to worry about while first getting the hang of this car. And this car was fast. Now, if it was a slower car, a slower category, which even if you made some mistakes here and there, it wouldn't really be a problem. But in this case, it kind of was. And it wasn't just the car, it was the track. Like I said, the track was really fast as well. And the last thing that was really scary with this car was the stick shift itself. So this car was a manual, upshift, downshift while moving the stick. And that in and of itself was not new to me. I've done this a lot of times before, especially in the C1 Cup car, it was constant. But with this car, the gears, like the movements that you had to do to go from first to second and then to third, for instance, were really, really close together. So this whole time as I was driving the car, I was scared to death of money shifting the car. Basically going from first gear to second gear, and while accelerating and, you know, the car would want to go to third gear to not redline the engine, I was scared of going from second to first gear instead of third, which would just blow up the engine. Because the movements, they were all really close together. Luckily, none of those things happened. One thing that I realized is that the simulator can't simulate these G-forces that you feel in real life. You would actually think that those things would matter for you to feel them, because you need to kind of be confident enough to stay on throttle and going flat out in some corners where you feel like you're going too fast, but not really. You need to just stay on throttle. You would think that in real life you would not have the guts to do that as often as you would in the sim. There are no risks involved in the sim, unless you're racing really competitively and you're going to lose a race if you do stupid mistakes. So yes, is it scary to drive in real life? A little bit, but it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Why is that the case? Well, because personally, and feel free to share your opinions and your experiences on the matter in the comments below, but for me, what I realized was because I had trained so much in the simulator, even though I didn't train in the same car that I'd driven in real life, it followed the same philosophy and the same driving approach that most cars do, really. Like I said, weight transfer is kind of standard in any category that you drive. Feeling the grip through the steering wheel is also pretty standard in all the experiences that I've had so far. So going into a new car and this new track was not so weird or, stressful for me, because I could feel what I needed to feel to make sure that I'm in control of my safety and going fast. I could feel the grip through the steering wheel, and I could also feel those extra forces in real life, which were extra helpful in a sense. Now, in the scenario where I hadn't trained so much in the sim, and I would just go straight to this fast car, then I believe that would have been a problem. Because I would have no knowledge and no understanding of what it meant to go fast. I would have no car control and no experience in, trail braking, smooth steering and all those things, racing lines, and that would be scary because I wouldn't know what I need to do. But in this case, I knew what I needed to do, so I immediately had the confidence. Of course, granted, I needed to be slow as I build up the speed, and that's how I ended up doing fast laps at the end. But yeah, generally I wouldn't say that was an issue. But again, I don't know if this is the same case for everybody. I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on the matter in the comments below. That's it. Thank you. I'll see you next time.